I was already halfway down Oliver's front steps when Megan opened the door behind me and said, "You do know people notice, right?" I stopped with one foot on the walkway and one hand in my hoodie pocket, like I had been caught doing something worse than leaving a house at 10:40 on a Friday night. The porch light above her made everything look too clear. The chipped paint on the railing, the little pile of shoes by the door, the empty soda can sitting on the top step because somebody had missed the trash, and Megan, standing there barefoot in jeans and an old gray sweatshirt, looking at me like she had not followed me by accident. I gave her a quick smile, the kind I used when I wanted to slide past a moment without making it heavier. "Notice what? That you leave too soon." I laughed once, but it came out flat. "It's not that serious." "Maybe not every time," she said. "But you always do it right when people stop performing and start actually being there." That landed in a way I did not like. Inside the house, Oliver's living room had shifted into that late-night version of itself. Earlier it had been loud and easy. Pizza boxes on the coffee table. Music from someone's phone. People arguing about old movies they barely remembered. I had been fine then. I had talked. I had laughed. I had even sat on the floor for a while with my back against the couch, passing chips to Oliver's cousin like I belonged there. Then the crowd thinned. The jokes got softer. Somebody turned the music down. Oliver started telling this story about how scared he was before his first job interview, and everyone actually listened instead of roasting him. Megan had been in the armchair with one leg tucked under her, smiling like she knew all of them better than they knew themselves. That was when I checked my phone, stood up, said something about being tired, and headed for the door. Same as always, but nobody usually followed me. I turned around fully and looked at her. I just like getting home before it gets weird. It wasn't getting weird. It was getting quiet. Exactly. She said it so calmly that I did not know what to do with it. Megan was Oliver's older sister, which meant I had known her in pieces for years. She had always been around the edges of things, picking Oliver up when his car broke down, coming home from college for holidays, sitting at the kitchen table with coffee while the rest of us came through like a storm. She was 24 now, back in town for reasons Oliver explained badly and she never really corrected. Something about a job not working out. Something about the city being expensive. Something about a guy maybe, but nobody said that part directly. I had never had a real conversation with her before that night. Not like this. I shrugged. "I'm not a big feelings circle guy." "I didn't say you were." "Then what are you saying?" She leaned against the doorframe, not blocking me, not trapping me, just there. "I'm saying you leave right before you might have to let somebody know you." I looked away toward my car parked across the street. It was under a maple tree, windshield reflecting the porch light in a pale streak. My keys were already in my hand. "That's a lot to get from me going home." "Maybe," she said, "but I've watched you do it since you were 17. That made me look back at her. She smiled a little, not like she had one, but like she knew she had surprised me. "You used to leave bonfires before people started sitting close to the fire," she said. "You left Oliver's graduation party before his mom brought out old pictures. Last summer at the lake, you disappeared right after everyone started talking about what they wanted to do next. Tonight, people got quiet and you were gone within 2 minutes. I did not have anything ready for that. Usually, people took my exits at face value. Elliot had work tomorrow. Elliot was tired. Elliot was just like that. I liked being just like that. It made everything simple." "You keep a list?" I asked. "No," she said. "You're just easier to see than you think." That bothered me more than it should have. I looked past her through the open door. Oliver was laughing at something in the kitchen now. His friend Jason was sitting on the couch, talking with his hands. Someone had moved the lamp to the floor for no clear reason. It was not some huge emotional scene in there. It was just a room full of people who had stopped trying so hard. And I had reacted like the ceiling was lowering. Megan stepped outside and let the door close behind her, soft enough that nobody inside turned. "You don't have to tell me anything," she said. "Good. I'm not asking for your life story." "Also good. But you should try staying 10 more minutes." I stared at her. "That's your big advice?" It's not advice. It's a dare. That got a real laugh out of me, barely, but real. She folded her arms. 10 minutes. Go back in. Sit down. Say nothing if you want. Then leave if you still want to. And what does that prove? Maybe nothing. That's convincing. Or maybe you find out the thing you're avoiding doesn't actually happen. I hated how direct she was. Not rude. Not dramatic. Just direct enough that I could not twist her words into something else. What thing? I asked even though I knew I should not. Her face changed a little. Softer but not pitying. That everyone suddenly realizes they don't want you there. I went still. The street was quiet behind me. Across the road, Mr. Cooper's porch flag moved in the wind. Somewhere down the block, a car door shut. Normal sounds. Small-town Friday night sounds. Nothing big enough to explain why my chest felt tight. I wanted to make another joke. I wanted to say she was overthinking it. I wanted to lift my keys and walk away before the conversation got 1 inch closer to the truth. Instead, I just said, "You don't know that." "No," Megan said. "I don't. But you act like you do." We stood there for a second. Then she opened the door again and nodded inside. 10 minutes, Elliot. It was the way she said my name that did it. Not sweet. Not dramatic. Just like she expected me to be able to handle staying. I looked at my car one more time. Then I put my keys back in my pocket. Megan did not smile big or act proud of herself. She just stepped aside and let me walk in first. Nobody made a big deal out of it. That was the strangest part. Oliver looked up from the kitchen counter and said, "Dude, I thought you left." "Changed my mind." I said, "Cool. Grab another soda before Jason finishes them." That was it. No one asked why. No one stared. No one made space in some obvious way that would have made me regret coming back. I took a soda from the fridge and stood near the counter while Oliver complained about his boss mixing up the schedule again. Jason asked me if I remembered the name of some old arcade place we used to go to. I did. Then we argued about whether it had closed in 2016 or 2017. Megan came back in after me, but she did not hover. She sat on the arm of the couch beside her cousin and joined a conversation about bad first apartments. At one point, she glanced over at me. Just once. Not checking on me like I was fragile. More like she was saying, "See? I stayed 10 minutes. Then 20. Then somehow I was sitting at the kitchen table while Oliver's mom came down in her robe and told all of us to keep it down even though she was smiling the whole time. Someone handed me a slice of cold pizza. I ate it. The room stayed warm. Nobody turned on me. Nobody asked me to reveal some hidden part of myself. Nobody proved the old warning in my head right. Around midnight, people finally started leaving for real. This time, I left with everyone else. Megan was on the porch again, holding the door while Oliver carried trash bags out to the bins. I stepped past her and tried to keep my voice normal. "I stayed longer than 10 minutes. You did. So I win the dare." She looked at me with that same calm, annoying, accurate look. "No," she said. "You just didn't run. I should have had a comeback. I usually did. But I only nodded and walked down the steps. When I got into my car, I sat there longer than I needed to. The windows were fogging slightly. My phone had 3 useless notifications. My keys rested against my knee. I had stayed. Nothing had broken. And somehow that felt less simple than leaving ever had. The next morning, Megan texted me like the porch conversation had not been a big deal. I was at work, standing behind the counter at the hardware store, half listening to Mr. Donnelly explain why the new paint display looked too modern. When my phone buzzed in my apron pocket, I checked it during a slow minute. Megan. 10 minutes turned into almost 2 hours. Impressive. I stared at the message for longer than I should have. It was not flirty exactly. It was not heavy either. That was what made it hard to answer. She had found this small space between teasing me and letting me know she remembered. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Finally, I sent, "Don't get used to it." She answered almost right away. "Megan, I'll try to survive the disappointment." I smiled before I could stop myself. Mr. Donnelly saw it and said, Something funny about cabinet hinges? No, I said, putting my phone away. Cabinet hinges are serious. He gave me a look like he regretted hiring anyone under 30. That should have been the end of it, but it was not. Over the next week, Megan kept showing up in small ways that were hard to call anything. She sent me a picture of Oliver passed out on the couch with one sock half off and wrote, "Your best friend says he's just resting his eyes." She asked if the hardware store carried those little rubber feet for chairs because her mother's kitchen table was tearing up the floor. One night, she replied to something I posted about a flat tire with, "Did you actually fix it or just stare at it until it felt judged?" Nothing was too much. Nothing demanded anything from me. That made me answer. By Thursday, I realized I was waiting for her name to pop up and pretending I was not. Oliver noticed something too, because on Saturday afternoon, when I showed up at his house for his dad's birthday barbecue, he opened the door and narrowed his eyes at me. "What?" I asked. "Nothing," he said. "You're early." "I'm 5 minutes late." "Exactly. That's early for you showing up to something you might leave from." I pushed past him. "Move." The backyard was already full of people. Oliver's dad was at the grill wearing the same faded baseball cap he had owned since we were kids. There were folding chairs in the grass, a cooler by the back steps, paper plates stacked on the patio table, and little kids running in circles around everyone's legs like they had been paid to make the place louder. Normally, this kind of thing was easy at first. Big groups gave me cover. I could drift from one conversation to another, laugh when I was supposed to, help carry something, then disappear before the day turned into evening and everyone got comfortable. Megan was at the picnic table, cutting lemons into a plastic bowl. She had her hair tied up, sunglasses pushed onto her head, and a yellow t-shirt that made her look like she had stepped out of summer itself. She looked up when I came outside. "Elliot," she said. "Good. You can help." Not hello. Not nice to see you. Just you can help like I already belonged in the motion of the day. "With what?" She handed me a bag of ice from the cooler. "Drinks. Don't look scared. It's not emotionally advanced." I wasn't scared. You looked mildly cornered by beverages. I took the ice and followed her to the folding table by the fence. She started lining up cups while I dumped ice into a metal tub. A little boy I did not know ran past us with a water balloon, slipped, recovered, and kept going like nothing in life could stop him. "You came back," Megan said quietly. "To the barbecue? To the scene of the dare." I glanced at her. "Oliver invited me." "Sure. His dad likes me. He likes everyone who eats 2 burgers and compliments the grill. That's a real relationship." She laughed, and I felt it in my chest in a way that made me look down at the drinks. For the next couple hours, she kept pulling me into things without making it obvious. When her aunt asked who could move chairs from the garage, Megan pointed at me before I could step backward. When Oliver's cousins started a cornhole game, she tossed me a bag and said, "You're on my team. Try not to embarrass me." When the food came out, she put a plate in my hand while I was still standing near the edge of the patio, acting like I was fine by myself. It was not that she watched me the whole time. That would have made me leave. It was more like she noticed the exact second I started becoming background and gave me some small reason not to. By early evening, the birthday cake had been cut. The little kids were sticky and tired, and Oliver's dad had told the same story about his old truck 3 times. People started settling into slower conversations. Chairs turned inward. Voices dropped. There it was again. That shift. My body noticed before my brain did. I checked my phone. No messages. I put my empty cup down. I looked toward the side gate, already measuring the cleanest way out. Then Megan appeared beside me with 2 empty bowls in her hands. "Corner store," she said. "What?" "We're out of ice. And my mom wants more paper towels. Come with me." I looked at the coolers, then the house, then the gate. "Why me?" "Because you're already mentally halfway to your car." I opened my mouth, then closed it. She smiled, but not in a mean way. "Come on. It's a 5-minute drive." We took her car, an older blue Civic with a cracked phone mount and a Pine air freshener that had given up months ago. She drove with the windows down, one hand on the wheel, the other resting near the gearshift. The air smelled like cut grass and grill smoke and that dusty warmth that hangs over roads at the end of a long day. For the first minute, neither of us said much. Then I said, "You do that on purpose." "What?" "Give me jobs." "I give everyone jobs." "You give me jobs right when I'm about to leave." She kept her eyes on the road. "Yeah." I waited for her to explain, but she did not. "So that's it?" I asked. "That's it. No speech. I'm trying to cut back." I laughed under my breath and looked out the window. We passed the middle school, the closed-down video store that was now a fitness place, the little church with the crooked sign out front. I had driven those streets so many times that they should have felt boring. With Megan, they felt different, like I was seeing them from one seat over in someone else's life. At the corner store, she grabbed paper towels while I got ice from the freezer by the door. The cashier, an older woman named Pam who knew everybody, looked between us and smiled too knowingly. "You two helping at the Wallace place?" she asked. Megan set the paper towels on the counter. "Dad's birthday." Pam rang everything up. "Tell him I said happy birthday." "I will." Then Pam looked at me. "Elliot, your mom's still doing those porch plants?" "Yeah," I said. "Too many." "No such thing." When we got back in the car, Megan did not start it right away. She sat there with the keys in her hand, looking through the windshield at the store windows. "I used to hate running into people here," she said. "Why?" "Because everyone asks why I'm back." I looked at her. "Why are you back?" She smiled a little, but it was tired around the edges. "See, you brought it up." "I did." She leaned back in her seat. "I thought I was building this whole life in Columbus. Apartment, job, relationship, plans. All very adult and impressive." "Sounds awful." It kind of was. She looked over at me. "Not all of it, but enough." I kept staying because leaving felt like admitting I had been wrong. That surprised me. Megan seemed like the kind of person who knew when to walk away from things. Not coldly, just clearly. Like she would pack one box, say the honest sentence, and go. "What happened?" I asked. She tapped the keys once against her knee. "I stayed too long in a life that didn't fit because I didn't want people to know I had chosen badly." The car felt quieter after that. Outside, a man came out of the store with a six-pack of soda and a bag of chips under one arm. A normal evening kept happening around us. I said, "That doesn't sound like you." "No, you seem like you know what you're doing." She gave me a look. "That's just good posture." I laughed, but softly. She started the car then, and we drove back without music. Not awkwardly, just with the kind of quiet that did not feel like a trap. At the barbecue, Oliver yelled from the patio, "Finally! Did you guys mind the ice yourselves?" Megan tossed him the paper towels. "You're welcome." The rest of the night was easier after that. Not because I suddenly became a new person. I still felt the old pull when people sat close and conversations slowed down. I still thought about leaving at least twice. But now Megan was there, moving through the yard, laughing with her cousins, taking plates into the kitchen, looking over at me now and then like she knew exactly where the door was in my head. And I stayed. When I finally left, it was late enough that Oliver's dad had already gone inside and the yard was mostly cleaned up. Megan was by the side gate, stacking folding chairs against the fence. I picked up 2 chairs without asking. She glanced over. "Look at you. Voluntary participation. Don't make it weird." "I would never." We carried the chairs to the garage. For a second, in the narrow light by the open door, we stood closer than we needed to. She smelled like lemons and smoke from the grill. There was a smudge of frosting near her wrist. I wanted to say something smart, something easy. Instead, I said, "Thanks for taking me with you." Her expression softened. "To buy paper towels?" "No," I said. "Away." But not away. She understood. I could tell. That was the problem. She understood too quickly, and I was starting to like it too much. On the drive home, I did not feel relieved to be alone the way I usually did. I kept thinking about her in the car outside the corner store, saying she had stayed too long because she did not want to be wrong. I left too early for almost the same reason. Different move. Same fear. And for the first time, the person I wanted to tell that to was not Oliver or myself or nobody. It was Megan. The first time I went to Megan's apartment, I told myself it did not count because Oliver was supposed to be there too. That was my excuse, at least. She had moved into the upstairs half of an old duplex 3 streets over from downtown. The kind with narrow steps, uneven floors, and windows that stuck unless you lifted them from the exact right corner. Oliver texted me on a Tuesday afternoon and said Megan needed help carrying a bookshelf up the stairs because their dad had mysteriously remembered his back hurts. I said I could stop by after work. Oliver replied with a thumbs up. Then, 10 minutes later, Megan texted me. Megan, for the record, I did not ask Oliver to recruit you like unpaid labor. Me. So I'm paid labor? Megan. You'll get lemonade and the satisfaction of not watching me drop a bookshelf on myself. Me hard to turn down. When I got there, Oliver's truck was not outside. I sat in my car for a second, engine still running, and looked at the duplex. Megan's upstairs windows were open. A white curtain moved in the breeze. There were 2 cardboard boxes on the porch with black shoes and Random Kitchen written on them in marker. My phone buzzed. Megan, are you sitting outside deciding whether furniture is emotionally dangerous? I looked up. She was at the upstairs window, leaning out with her elbows on the sill. I rolled my window down. Oliver's not here. He bailed. Said Jason needed help with his bike. So this was a trap. Only if you fear medium density would. I should have left then if I was following my usual rules. The plan had changed. It was just me and her. No group noise. No Oliver buffer. No easy way to pretend I had only come by because my friend asked. But she smiled down at me like she already knew all of that, and somehow it made leaving feel more obvious than staying. So I turned off the car. The bookshelf was heavier than it looked and wider than the stairwell wanted it to be. Megan stood at the top while I pushed from below, both of us laughing every time it got stuck. Turn it left, she said. This is left. No, your other left. That's not a thing. It is when you're doing it wrong. By the time we got it into her living room, my shirt was sticking to my back, and Megan had a red mark on her forearm from where the shelf had pressed against her. Her apartment was only half unpacked. Books stacked against the wall. A mattress on the floor in the bedroom with no frame yet. 2 mugs in the sink. A little lamp on a crate beside the couch. It looked temporary but not careless, like she was trying to decide how much of herself to put down there. She handed me a glass of lemonade with ice and leaned against the counter while I sat on the floor, catching my breath. You look very proud, she said. I moved a whole bookshelf. I'm basically a community hero. You got it stuck 6 times. And still succeeded. She laughed, then looked around the room. I keep thinking once everything is unpacked, I'll feel normal again. Does it work that way? Not so far. I looked at the boxes. Maybe you need better labels. Random Kitchen sounds unstable. It is. 1 box has plates, a can opener, and my tax forms. That is upsetting. She smiled, but then it faded a little. For a few minutes, we unpacked without making a big thing out of it. I put books on shelves. She argued with me about arranging them by author versus vibe. I told her vibe was not a system. She told me that was because I had never had one. Then it got quiet. Not bad quiet, just real quiet. I was standing near the bookshelf with a stack of paperbacks in my hand when she said, "You don't have to keep waiting for the group version of me, you know?" I looked over. What does that mean? It means you act different when Oliver's around. That's because Oliver makes everything dumber. He does. She took a book from the box and slid it onto the shelf. But that's not what I mean. I put the paperbacks down too carefully. There it was again. That edge. The moment where I could joke, deflect, check my phone, find the door. Instead, I stayed still. Megan watched me for a second, then said, "You're allowed to be here because you want to be." My face got warm. I didn't say I didn't. You didn't say anything. That's kind of my brand. I know. The way she said it was soft enough that it made me look at her. She was closer than I had realized. Not close enough for anything to happen by accident. Close enough that I noticed the little gold chain at her neck and the way one piece of hair had come loose by her cheek. I wanted to touch it. That thought was so clear and sudden that I stepped back like the floor had shifted. Megan noticed. Of course she noticed. But this time she did not call me on it. She just turned toward the kitchen and said, "Help me with the plates before you emotionally sue the bookshelf." I breathed out and followed her. After that, things became harder to name. There was a night at Oliver's house when everyone else left early because a storm knocked the power out in half the neighborhood. I stayed behind to help his dad drag the patio chairs under cover, and Megan came outside with a flashlight, her hair damp from the rain blowing sideways. We ended up sitting in her dad's truck in the driveway, waiting for the worst of it to pass. The rain hit the windshield so hard the whole world turned silver and blurry. She had her knees pulled up, sneakers on the seat, and I had one hand resting on the door handle, not because I wanted to leave, but because my body still liked knowing where exits were. "You always sit like that?" she asked. "Like what?" "Ready." I looked at my hand and moved it into my lap. She did not tease me. For a while we listened to rain. Then I said, "Sometimes I think I don't know how to stay without feeling stupid." She turned her head toward me. I kept my eyes on the windshield. Like, if I stay, then everyone can see I care. And if people can see that, they can do whatever they want with it. Megan was quiet for long enough that I regretted saying it. Then she said, "I don't think caring makes you look stupid. You might be biased. You label books by vibe." That got a small laugh from her, but she did not let me escape completely. "I think pretending not to care costs more than people admit," she said. The truck went quiet again. Our shoulders were almost touching. The windows had fogged around the edges. I could see her reflection in the glass, softer than her real face, watching me like she was trying not to push too hard. I turned toward her at the same time she turned toward me. For 1 second, neither of us made a joke. Neither of us moved away. My heart started doing something ridiculous. Then Oliver banged on the hood of the truck and yelled, "Power's back, weirdos." Megan closed her eyes and laughed, and I nearly hit my head on the window. After that, I could not pretend I was only staying because she made it safe. I was staying because I wanted more of her. A few days later, she asked me directly. Not through Oliver. Not as a group thing. Not hidden under a chore. "Megan, there's an outdoor movie Friday in the park. I was going to go. Come with me?" I read it in the hardware store break room with half a sandwich in my hand. Come with me. Not us. Me. My chest tightened so fast it annoyed me. I liked her. I liked her more than I had let myself say, even in my own head. I liked the way she saw the worst of my habits without making me feel small. I liked the way she let silence happen. I liked her apartment, her sharp little jokes, her tired honesty, her bare feet on Oliver's porch, her hands on the steering wheel when she drove. That was exactly the problem. I typed, "Yeah, what time?" Then I erased it. I typed, "Sounds good." Erased that too. My break ended. I put the phone away. I told myself I would answer after work. After work, I saw the message again and felt that same cornered feeling, only stronger. This was not 10 more minutes at a party. This was not ice and paper towels. This was her choosing me on purpose. So I did the thing I knew how to do. I did nothing. Friday came. I still had not answered. At 7:30, Oliver texted the group chat a picture from the park. Blankets on the grass. A movie screen blown up near the bandstand. People sitting in clusters under the fading sky. Then another message came from Megan. "Megan." I guess that was an answer. I stared at it until the words blurred a little. I did not reply. I drove around instead. Past the park once, slow enough to see the glow of the screen through the trees. I saw Megan sitting on a blanket near her cousin, arms wrapped around her knees, looking toward the movie but not really laughing when everyone else did. I kept driving. That night, for the first time in my life, leaving did not feel like control. It felt like watching something I wanted get smaller in the rearview mirror because I was too scared to park. I avoided Megan for 3 days, which was impressive considering we lived in a town where you could run into the same person twice before lunch. I skipped Oliver's house on Saturday. I ignored the group chat when someone suggested getting tacos. On Sunday, I drove past the hardware store after my shift instead of stopping at the gas station near Megan's apartment, because I knew she sometimes bought coffee there. By Monday evening, I hated myself enough to stop pretending I was being careful. I was sitting in my car outside my own house, keys still in the ignition, when Oliver called. I almost let it go. Then I answered. "What? Nice greeting," he said. "You alive?" "Yeah. You've been weird." "I'm always a little weird." "No, this is different weird." He paused. "Did something happen with Megan?" I closed my eyes. That was the problem with best friends. They were useless 90% of the time, then suddenly accurate at the worst moment. "I messed up," I said. Oliver was quiet for once. "She won't say anything, but she's been quiet." That hit harder than I expected. Megan loud would have been easier. Megan mad would have given me something to push against. But quiet Megan hurt Megan, still going about her day while deciding I was exactly who my habits said I was. That felt worse. "I know," I said. "Then fix it." "It's not that simple." "It kind of is. You go there. You talk. You don't do your whole disappearing act." I looked at the dark windshield. My reflection looked tired and young in a way I did not like. "Yeah," I said. "Okay." Megan's apartment lights were on when I pulled up. I sat outside for maybe 30 seconds, then forced myself out of the car before I could turn that into 10 minutes and then into leaving. The stairs creaked under me. Every step sounded too loud. I knocked. No answer at first. Then the door opened, and there she was in a dark green sweater, hair pulled back, face calm in a way that made my stomach sink. "Hey," I said. "Hey." That was all. No smile. No joke about me standing there like a porch decoration. No easy place to land. I put my hands in my jacket pockets, then took them out again. "I'm sorry," I said. She leaned one shoulder against the doorframe. For not answering, or for driving past the park. So she had seen me. I looked down at the doormat. Said welcome, but one corner was curled up. Both. Megan waited. That was the part that made it hard. She did not rescue me. She did not fill the silence. She made me stand in it. "I wanted to come," I said. "That's the truth. I wanted to say yes the second you texted me. But you didn't." "No. And then you saw me there and still left." I swallowed. "Yeah." Her eyes were steady, but I could see the hurt under it now. Not huge. Not dramatic. Just real. "I'm not mad because you couldn't come," she said. "I'm hurt because you made me feel stupid for asking." Write in the comments. Was Megan right to call me out? Or should she have understood that I was scared and needed more time? That sentence went right through me. I had been so busy trying not to feel exposed that I had not really pictured her side of it. Her sending the message. Her waiting. Her realizing I was not answering. Her sitting there in the park, probably telling herself not to care too much while I drove by like a coward. "I know," I said, "and I hate that I did that." She looked past me toward the stairs. "Then why did you?" There it was. The door I always left through. I could have shrugged. I could have said I got busy. I could have made it smaller, safer, easier to survive. Instead, I stayed. "Because it meant too much," I said. Megan looked back at me. My voice sounded rough, but I kept going. "When it was a group thing, I could tell myself I was just around. When you needed help moving something, I could tell myself I was being useful. When we went to the store, I could tell myself it was nothing. But when you asked me to go somewhere with you, just me, I couldn't pretend anymore." Her face softened a little, but she did not move. "So you left," she said. "I didn't even leave from anywhere. I left before I got there." "Same thing." "Yeah." I nodded. "Same thing." The hallway behind her was warm with lamplight. I could see the bookshelf we had carried up, now filled badly because she had ignored my system completely. A mug sat on the little crate beside her couch. Her life was right there, close enough to step into, and my whole body wanted to retreat because saying the truth felt like handing someone the sharpest part of me. But I was tired. Not sleepy tired. Tired of making every good thing prove itself from a distance. I've always told myself leaving first makes me strong, I said. Like I'm in control. Like I don't need anyone enough to get caught looking dumb. But I think I just got good at making sure nobody could choose not to want me because I was already gone. Megan's eyes changed then. She understood. I knew she did. But this time understanding did not fix it for free. You hurt me, she said. I know. You don't get to turn that into a sad story about yourself and make it okay. I'm not trying to. Good. I nodded again. The silence after that was uncomfortable. My skin felt hot under my jacket. I wanted to explain more, apologize better, make her smile. Anything. But I stayed quiet because maybe part of staying was not trying to control how fast someone forgave you. Finally, I said, I don't want to be the guy who leaves you wondering what you did wrong. Her mouth tightened a little. I don't want to leave you, I said. That's the simplest way I can say it. For a few seconds, Megan just looked at me. Then she stepped back from the door. You can come in for tea, she said. Not because everything is fixed. Because you came back and told the truth. I let out a breath I had been holding. Tea sounds serious. It is. Don't panic. I'll try. I walked inside. We sat on her couch, not touching at first, with mugs warming our hands and the window open a crack to the cool night air. The conversation was not smooth. I had to apologize again, more plainly. She had to tell me that patience did not mean she would keep standing there every time I ran. I had to hear that without defending myself. But I did hear it, and I did not leave. The next Friday, Oliver had people over again. Nothing special. Just pizza, music, card games, the usual mess of shoes by the door. Megan was there, sitting on the floor by the coffee table, sorting cards while Jason accused everyone of cheating. She looked up when I walked in, not fully smiling yet, but close. I sat beside her. Oliver noticed and raised his eyebrows like an idiot. I ignored him. For a while, everything was easy. Loud jokes, bad pizza, someone spilling soda and blaming the dog, even though Oliver did not own a dog. Then later, like always, the room softened. People leaned back. The music got lower. Conversations turned real around the edges. My old reflex woke up. I felt it clearly. The check your phone feeling. The keys in pocket feeling. The quiet voice saying, go before you want too much. I stood. Megan's eyes flicked to me just once. I picked up the empty pizza boxes from the table. Taking these out, I said. Then I'm coming back. Nobody made a big deal out of it. Outside, the porch air was cool. My car was across the street under the same maple tree. Waiting. Easy. Familiar. I looked at it for a second. Then I carried the boxes to the bin, closed the lid, and went back inside. Megan was still on the floor when I returned. She had saved my spot without making a show of it. I sat down beside her, closer this time. Her knee touched mine. Neither of us moved away. A few minutes later, under the noise of Jason arguing over the rules, Megan leaned toward me and said, You came back. I looked at her, and for once I did not make a joke to hide how much it meant. Yeah, I said. I said I would. She smiled then, small but real, and slipped one card into my hand like she was letting me into the game. I stayed until the night ended. Not because I was trapped. Not because Megan dared me. Not because leaving would look bad. I stayed because she was there, and because for the first time in my life, staying felt less like losing control and more like choosing something I actually wanted.